All right. Take two. Hopefully, everybody is having a good night. Hopefully, y'all can hear me this time around. Let me know in the chat. Assuming everything is good, let me give you the rundown of tonight. We're going to talk about the most likely scenarios for the 49ers in this year's draft for rounds 1 through 3. And we're not going to do that based off of opinion. We're going to do it based off of analytics because ESPN has a pretty cool tool that we can show you to go over the most likely scenarios for the San Francisco 49ers in rounds 1 through 3. We're going to talk about John Lynch, the draft strategy that he may have. We're also going to talk about the BA situation. We're just a couple days away from the draft. I want to say this too. I don't know that this is going to be a normal draft for the 49ers. I can see them trading up, trading back, something big happening. Maybe they take a player at a position that you're not expecting. I just feel like it could be fireworks come this year's draft, but we'll see. We will see. There's plenty to talk about. And we're going to talk about all those things plus more next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. It's just me running solo tonight. Coach is not yet back. We'll see. We'll see. He might make a guest appearance tonight, depending on what's going on, but I wouldn't count on it. We did talk a little bit ago. Everything is going good with him. He should be back soon. That being said, I will be going solo yet again tonight to discuss everything under the sun that is the NFL draft. So, that being said, let's talk briefly. Let me pull this up here so I have my notes. All right. Yeah, I know, man. I know. I miss Coach too. I talk to him on a regular basis, but I miss him like on this avenue. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that being said, Marco will be on with me on Thursday, 49ers Throwback. So, there we go. Okay. Let's talk about what John Lynch had to say today. When it pertained to draft strategy, when it pertained to Brandon Ayuk, here were the big takeaways. So, if you were unable to watch John Lynch, it is pre-draft presser. Here are the main things that were talked about. He did confirm. Remember, there was a little bit of a mix-up. Everybody assumed that BA was going to be at these voluntary workouts. Y'all remember that? Like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be there. Well, he wasn't, and he hasn't shown up the whole time. And that was confirmed by John Lynch, which to me is no surprise. I mean, if you're a player that's about to get paid, you don't want to be at these workouts, getting hurt, what have you. And this is what makes things pretty tough is as these players are trying to get paid, they're trying to stay in shape, yes, but they're also trying not to get injured so that they don't miss out on millions and millions of dollars, life-changing money. So it makes this scenario tough, especially if it drags on late into training camp or close to the regular season like it did with Bosa. We see these players not maybe have their best season because the contract situation took way too long. And that was something that John Lynch talked about as well. He was asked about that scenario, and he said that he would prefer that they get these things done sooner. It's not ideal that they take as long as they do. So, you know, I think it's easy to sit back and say, well, then just get them done sooner. But there's obviously something that holds these things back. I got to assume it's more on the 49ers side of the house because they are a team that traditionally this process takes a long time. So that being said, he says that they've learned their lessons and would prefer to get things done sooner. All right, we'll see. He also confirmed that they have been fielding calls for BA. But they field calls for a lot of players. So not a big surprise. But yes, they have been fielding calls for BA. He was asked specifically, did you allow BA's agent to shop BA? To that question, he didn't want to give an answer. He said that he was focused on BA being a 49er. So to me, that means he probably has given him permission to see what his value is. I don't think that's the end of the world. I listen, you've heard me say from the beginning, I don't believe BA is going anywhere. I still believe that he will be a 49er at the end of this draft process. That being said, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if Brandon Ayuk has been given permission to reach out and see what his value is. Now, it could be really bad if BA's value to somebody else is around 30 million and the 49ers are at 25. Yeah, that could go pretty bad for the 49ers. It could also go bad for Brandon Ayuk. What if teams are only willing to give up a second round pick and pay him $25 million? Maybe that could be a scenario that works out in the 49ers' favor. But I think having Brandon Ayuk know what his value is to other teams, I think having the 49ers know what his value is to other teams might make this process speed up quite a bit after the draft. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, think about it from this aspect. The reason that Armstead's not on the team anymore is because he was given similar permission, found out that there was a market out there that was much better than what the 49ers were offering. Remember, the 49ers wanted him to go from around $18 million this year down to $6 million. It turns out other teams were willing to pay a lot more than that. And so Armstead ended up with the Jaguars. Now, I think the 49ers have a good sense of what Brandon Ayuk is worth on the open market. I think that Brandon Ayuk has a good sense of what he's worth on the open market. TJ Hushmanzada, who trains Brandon Ayuk, came out today and said, hey, I talked to BA. BA does not want to leave San Francisco. He just wants to get paid. It's that simple. He just wants to get paid. And if he can get paid and stay in a 49er uniform, I'm sure that is the preference. But his number one preference is to get paid. So, that being said, again, I think BA stays a 49er. He also talked about the draft and some strategy. He said that there are 170 players on the 49ers board that they deem as draftable. There are 22 players that they believe have first round grades. So you do the math. 22 players, they're at pick 31. There's a possibility that all 22 of the players that they have first round picks on or first round grades on are no longer available at pick 31. So what would you do in that scenario? Well, one thing I've been talking about for about 3 weeks now is trade back. Listen, it would suck from the standpoint that I'm only going to be live on day one because on night 2, where you have the second and third round, I have to coach my son's football team. So I'm not going to be available on night 2. It would definitely suck from a content aspect for the 49ers to trade out of round 1, pick up more draft capital, and not have a single pick. But from a fan perspective and from a perspective of if I was running the team for 3 weeks, I've been saying trade out. If it is possible, trade out. Because I believe players at 31 through say 40, there's some good talent available, but also there are a lot of scenarios, and we've played some of those out on the channel, that would result in me not being comfortable necessarily taking anybody at 31. But if those players were at 37, 38, 39, 40, I'd feel very good about getting those same players. Especially if I could pick up, let's say, another third round pick. And now I can take that new third round pick that I've received and either package it with my current third round and move up, or package it with the second round and move up again from pick 63. That would be ideal. So for me, if that scenario is there at pick 31, then I would trade back. And the 49ers and John Lynch talked about that today. He said, I'm willing to be flexible. We've traded up before. We've traded back before. We've stood pat before. We are open to all scenarios. And as draft week moves along, he will be making those calls to see who's willing to move up and who's willing to move back, and just see where everybody's head's at. And that's what all these teams are doing. Pretty much every team come draft night is going to have a good idea of who is willing to do what. Now, things change very quickly, very, very quickly. Maybe a team is not interested in moving up, but they're 2-3 picks away from their spot. The draft board hasn't quite gone to plan, and there's one player in particular that they've fallen in love with, and so now they want to move up. Or maybe you switch that around. There's a player that they had hoped would fall to them, and now that player hasn't fallen to them, they're willing to move back. So things are very fluid come draft night, but the 49ers are doing their due diligence, and they are willing to move up, or they are willing to move back. Moving back, for me, would be ideal. So those were the main things. Oh, one last thing, actually. He also said that he puts a lot of stock in bloodlines, meaning if there is a player who dons the last name of a former player, he believes that player has a better chance of hitting in the NFL because they have the bloodlines that say that they've done it before. So those are the big things that I took away today from the presser. Let's see what y'all are talking about. Great. We're taking a punter at 31. Yeah, there's a lot of these guys. You know, I was going through the draft process the other day with Marco. Speak of the devil. Here he is. And Marco and I started coming across even more players that have NFL bloodlines. We came across James Thrash's son. Had no idea he was in this class. He's a wide receiver also. We know that Jenkins' son is out there. We know that McCaffrey's son is out there, or McCaffrey's brother, however you want to look at that, depending on which McCaffrey you're talking about. We know T.O.'s son is out there. We know that Trotter's son is out there. Frank Gore's son is out there. T.O.'s son, Jerry Rice's son. There's a lot of players in this draft that have NFL bloodlines. Jenkins, that's another one. Thank you, Marco. So, yeah, there's a lot of players with NFL bloodlines that are out there. It's not just 49ers ex-players, but there are definitely some players out there. Frank Tom Ocean, member for 13 months, appreciate you, says, let's get some super chats for my guy, Jesse. Definitely not needed, but certainly appreciated. Brother Bob says, how the hell did you not see that your sound meter wasn't working? Well, first of all, there's no sound meter directly on the screen. There is one backstage, which I checked, and it was working. Apparently, it stopped working. Everything was plugged in. I had to reset my computer. I had to reset the internet browser 2 or 3 times before it finally picked up. So I don't know, but there's no like actual meter that I see that shows me if the sound is working unless I'm backstage, which it was working. Don't know what happened. Frank Tom Ocean says, I'm tired of every year having a contract issue. Do they not see that it sets that player back from their full potential for the year? You the man, Jesse. I appreciate it, Frank Tom Ocean. Yeah, man, I think they do see it. And John Lynch being asked that question, he sees it. He wouldn't say, hey, we've learned our lesson and we definitely would prefer to get these deals done earlier. If that wasn't the case, he would have came up with some roundabout answer. I think he was pretty honest there, but there is a lot that goes into these negotiations. That being said, Frank Tom Ocean, I do believe that the holdup's on the 49ers side. I mean, the track record is there. We've seen the 49ers take forever on a lot of these deals. It can't be the players every single time. There's something the 49ers are doing. Now, hopefully the 49ers have recognized what that something is, and it can help them get deals done quicker going forward, starting with the BA deal. The BA deal doesn't have to be done by draft in order for it to be done early. It just has to be done by, let's say, end of May, end of June, and they're in a much better spot. If it's done at the end of June, that gives BA 6 or so weeks to get in tip-top shape, plus training camp. He would be perfectly fine. No problem. But if it lingers till August, then we've seen the result. It's not very good, even with the guys that you expect to hold serve and stay in shape. The Bosas. He even said it held him back a little bit. So yeah, I think the preference is to get the deals done early. Dave says, what up, Jess? Keep up the good work. Thank you, Dave. He says, I know it's hard to push content in the offseason, but I appreciate your work and your guests. Your last mock draft was pretty damn good. Well, thank you. And the reason that I did that with Marco is because Marco is incredible. He does a ton of film study on these players. And so I trust his eye. I really do. We've had so many conversations over the past few years. We've done the draft shows live. Marco hits, man. Marco definitely hits, and he does a lot more with the draft than I do. I have access to a lot of prospects, all 22. I don't have the time to watch a lot of all 22. Not on a bunch of players. Usually I do it for the quarterbacks because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy watching it for the quarterbacks so that I can come up with my rankings every year. And then Marco will give me some players at each position. I'll go watch a game or so of them. It won't be as in-depth of what I do with the quarterbacks. And then there will be some sleepers that I'll read about that I end up liking based off the scouting report. And I'll go watch a game or two of theirs. And then I'll come up with a good consensus. I'll do a bunch of mocks. I'll read a bunch of scouting reports. And then I'll have a pretty good idea. But not as good of an idea as if I was just watching it on my own. And quite frankly, listen, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I could watch offensive linemen and have an idea, but there's certainly things that, let's say, coach, for example, who played offensive line, who coached offensive line at the collegiate level, would be able to look at and be like, nah, Jess, you got this one wrong. This player is good, and this is why. And I would trust his opinion. So I just try to surround myself with people that have done the work, know what they're looking at, and trust that process. And that's the best thing I can do. I don't have to be the smartest guy on the channel. When I bring people on, I don't have to be smarter than them or know more than them. I just have to bring people on that can give us the right answer most of the time, and give you the most informed answer, and make sure that you guys are as educated as you can be. That doesn't necessarily have to come from me. I don't have an ego when it comes to this. These guys do a great job, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due because they deserve it. Brother Bob says, waiting. Let's hear other teams set the money scale, though. Yeah, I know. That's the tough part. When you do wait, you allow, like if Justin Jefferson gets $32 million a year, that's very helpful to BA. Wide receiver and some of these other positions are not necessarily the quarterback position, right? Where the next man up just sets the market value. But if Justin Jefferson gets paid $32 million, that certainly helps Brandon Ayuk get 27, 28 million. He's not going to get 32, but he's going to comfortably get 27. That's helpful. So, yeah, I agree. The longer you wait, that's what you risk. Dave Barclay says, no hate, but Marco is way better than Sunil. Yeah, I think it's all preference, and that's the good thing. I don't expect... in fact, I know not everybody likes me. I get a lot of hate. I guest on other channels, and a lot of people don't enjoy the content or my perspective, and that's okay. And I wouldn't expect that to be any different for the guests that I bring on. I would expect that you all have favorites that you prefer for different reasons. And that's good. I like Sunil because Sunil will debate with me and he'll argue with me. His perspective is often very different than mine. And I think that difference of opinion is good content. I think it's good content. Plus, I really like Sunil as a person. So, but I appreciate your perspective. Dave Barclay says, Brother Bob stating facts as always. He is. He definitely is. Brother Bob says, P.S. I was joking about the sound meter. You too serious. Listen, Brother Bob, I didn't want to start this thing at 9:30. I wanted to start it closer to 9. I'm in a very serious mood. Okay. I got things to take care of around here. Dave says, PSS, he's not joking. God, you guys are ridiculous. Brother Bob says, no, Dave. And TFO, always spitting facts. Wife's mad at me. Is your wife mad at you? Like, are you saying in general because you always like spit facts to her too? Is that like what's going on? I would recommend just biting your tongue every once in a while. Dave Barclay finds that funny. Frank Tom Ocean says, any summer plans? I am so ready for warm weather. It's always warm in Tampa. I hate to be that guy, but it's always warm here. But as far as summer plans, yeah, I'm getting a big portion of my house remodeled. Right now we're doing the master bathroom, and then we're going to go to my son's shared bathroom and then our spare bathroom. Hopefully that's all done by the end of June. And then I'm going to Oregon for about 3 weeks while my floors in the whole house are being redone because I don't want to be here living through that. So that's the big plans. I'll be in Oregon for about 3 weeks, end of June into July. So content will be on the road, and I'll just be enjoying my family, going around, doing some of the things that I used to do in Oregon when I lived there, just having a good time. So that's my major plans for the summer. What's up, Big Puffin Eats? This is my guy, Matt. What's up, Matt? Go check out his channel if you're a foodie or a griller or a Blackstone kind of guy. Big Puffin Eats is definitely worth watching. He says 2 questions. If you hypothetically had 2 friends, one is 6'5" and one is 6 foot even, who's the better friend? Also, where can we purchase the hats online? These are one-off made, so you're not going to find them online unless you special request it and I can order it for you. But I'm not going to make any money on it. It's just would be simply if you want to support Last Second Sports in a way that you're advertising freely for me. I can tell you where to get the hats. City Lokes, you can go make your own custom hats just like this one. And who's the better friend? I would say if the 6'5" guy is willing to say that he's 6 foot tall, he's your better friend. That'll make sense to you. Brother Bob says TFO equals FTO. Damn it. Laugh out loud. I was joking, Dave. All right. Y'all are too funny. Let me pull this up here because I think this tool is pretty dang cool. That rhymed. Okay. Let me get this all set up and then I will share it with y'all. Okay. Here we go. Percent this. Okay. There we go. Let me grab this. And hopefully y'all can see it. All right. What this is it's a draft day predictor. This is, you can find this on ESPN Analytics, but you can either do it by player. So if you want to see like where a specific player is going to fall, like Marvin Harrison Jr., chances. Most likely going to be pick 4, which we all agree with. Then pick 5, so forth and so on. You can do it by player, but for this, we want to do it by pick. Because we want to see the players that are most likely going to fall to the 49ers at pick 31, 63, and 94. So here we go. Pick 31. Here are the players most likely to fall to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what I'm going to do on the side is I'm going to give you the 5 most likely players percentage-wise to fall at pick 31, 63, and 94. I'm going to put them on a spreadsheet. Then we're going to pull that spreadsheet together and we're going to make a quote unquote mock draft out of the guys available. And we'll do that together. So let me show you. Most likely to be picked at pick 31 is Kool-Aid McKinstry. Second most likely is Adonai Mitchell, followed by Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton, and Ladd McConkey. Now, if we go to pick 63, we have Mike, and I'm going to butcher his name, Stianra still. He's the corner from Michigan. That's how I know him. Okay. So pick 63, that is the most likely player to be picked by the 49ers, according to ESPN Analytics, followed by Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe, Kingsley, Sumatai, and Malachi Corley. Then at pick 94, the guys most likely to be picked are Jason McCormick, Zach Zenter, which is interesting. Zach Zenter, if you remember, he is the interior offensive lineman for Michigan that broke his leg. You've got Andrew Phillips, who I know has visited the 49ers. We all should know that. It's been posted. You've got Kieran Amagadeji, who is the tackle out of, is it Yale? I think it's Yale. And then you've got Kyrie Jackson, who is the corner out of Oregon, one of my favorite players in the draft around this time, but, a little bit older. He's 25 years old, but, Oregon Ducks, always my favorites. So those are the players most likely to be there at those picks. So I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet and we are going to go over this whole thing together. Oops. Before I do that, let me get to super chats. Matt, thank you. I appreciate you, brother. He says, how much do I have to donate to get you to wear a Seahawks hat live for 5 minutes? It's literally not going to happen. You could donate whatever you want. It's not going to happen. The only way you'll catch me wearing a Seahawks hat is if I make a bet with another content creator that I have on for Behind Enemy Lines and were to lose that bet. I've done a hat bet a couple times. Did it with the Eagles content creator that never paid up. Never do content with him. I did, however, also do it with a Dallas Cowboys content creator, and he did pay up. He did pay up very quickly, I might add. So if I make a hat bet with a content creator from one of those other teams during Behind Enemy Lines, then I will absolutely wear the hat if the 49ers were to lose. Other than that, you couldn't you couldn't buy that. But you tried, you attempted, and I appreciate it. Big Puffin Eats. Thank you. Very gracious of you. Brother Bob says, Big Puffin, $2 more, make it make it clap, no diddy. Jeez, man. Who are your top 5 favorite members? Laugh out loud, just joking. Brother Bob's number 1. I have a lot of favorites, man. Not just members, even people that aren't members, but have been around since the beginning. Dave Barclay says, attaboy, Jess, no amount of money, but a bet is a bet. That's the way it is, man. If you lose a bet, you got to pay up, but you couldn't pay me to wear a Seahawks hat. I'm sorry. I remember, I'm going to tell you guys a story, and Matt knows this because Matt and I used to work together. He'll tell you. This is a true story, so he can vouch for me. The company that we used to work for together used to do these kickoff meetings, these sales meetings, and they would do them in Seattle. We lived in Portland, Oregon, but these kickoff meetings were always in Seattle. That's where the hub was at. So we would go to these kickoff meetings, and anybody that works for corporate America knows like how corny these things can get. They always want to do some fun thing, something they think is fun, but nobody could give a rip about, right? So their thing was you could wear NFL jerseys to the kickoff. That was their fun thing. So instead of wearing suits and ties and all the BS that nobody wants to wear, you could wear an NFL jersey. But because it was in Seattle, they always expected you to wear a Seattle Seahawks jersey. Now, this was, about 10 or so years ago when the Seahawks were really good and winning. So that made it worse. Now, as you remember, the 49ers were also very good, but the 49ers didn't win Super Bowls then. Seattle did, unfortunately. But they would expect you to wear a Seattle Seahawks jersey. So, Matt, if you're still in the chat, you can attest to this. I refused to wear a Seattle Seahawks jersey. I wouldn't do it. In fact, I would wear my 49ers jersey. And the president of the company every single time would make a comment about how I'm supposed to be wearing a Seahawks jersey. And I would simply let him know that that was never going to happen. I was not going to spend my money wearing that garbage. Just wasn't going to do it. So bottom line was I knew that I was too good at sales. I wasn't going to be let go over a Seahawks jersey. So I would wear my 49ers jersey surrounded by a bunch of people that didn't root for the Seattle Seahawks, but they would acquiesce to what the company told them because they were scared. So there you go. And he's my proof. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. So it just wasn't going to happen. Not from me. Not from this guy. You weren't going to see it. So, all right, let's talk about the most likely options. Now, if you were here just a little bit ago, you saw that we went to ESPN's draft simulator, and they have a whole slew of guys that they believe that will fall to pick 31, 63, and 94, and gave us guys that were most likely to be drafted. Okay. So based off of that, we took, you can call me Sheets Jr. Sheets Jr. here. I would wear a Ducks jersey. Yeah, absolutely. But it was NFL only. It was NFL only. But I would definitely wear a Ducks jersey. Yes, of course. Okay. So he said, on the other hand, I did it and then made the company pay for it with my corporate card. Facts. He definitely would do that. Sheets Jr. here. All right. Anyways, here are the players most likely 1 through 5 to be drafted at picks 31, 63, and 94. So the question is, who do we want to pick? So you see here at pick 31, the 5 guys most likely to be drafted are Kool-Aid McKinstry, Adonai Mitchell. Keep an eye on him. I think there's a real possibility that if he falls, he is the pick. Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton, and Ladd McConkey. You guys in the chat, throw up, out of those 5, who would you like the pick to be? If those are the 5 choices that are most likely to fall to the 49ers and be the pick, which of those guys do you want to see drafted at 31? All right, we got one for AD Mitchell. Marco coming through. And then we're gonna have our picks. We're gonna give our mocks based off of this. Nope, that just go off of the 5 guys that are going to be there. This is according to ESPN Analytics. So ESPN Analytics has these as the 5 guys most likely at pick 31 to be there. Who would you guys pick? Ninercast says he would also pick AD Mitchell. He just doesn't think he'll be there. That's fair. I don't know. I think that's tough. I mean, we know that Mark Andrews is diabetic. He takes care of it. He's been fine. So we've got 3 for Mitchell, 4 for Mitchell, 1 for Kool-Aid, 1 for Morgan, another for Morgan, Mitchell, Guyton, Mitchell. Let's see what we got. Kool-Aid. Okay. I think most people, we got another one for Mitchell. Okay, that'll seal it. We'll go with AD Mitchell. Okay, that's our pick at 31. I want to see if we can hit on any of these, by the way. All right, pick 63. The 5 guys most likely to be picked by the 49ers in this order, from most likely to least likely, according to ESPN Analytics, is Mike Cienristall, corner out of Michigan. I'm sure I butchered his name. Christian Haynes. Love Christian Haynes. Cooper Beebe. Also love Cooper Beebe. Kingsley Sumataya-Ia. Man, talk about not falling. I don't think Kingsley will be there, but maybe. And Malachi Corley. So out of those 5, knowing we just took AD, who would your vote be? Corner out of Michigan, guard, tackle, wide receiver. Remember, we've already taken a receiver. So, Sandra still. Okay, perfect. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. So who would you go with? Sandra still? Haynes, Beebe, Sumataya, Ia, or Corley? Haynes, corner, Kingsley, Kingsley, Kingsley. Who else? Okay. We got a couple for the corner. Got one for Cooper. Haynes. Give me one more. Give me another vote. Haynes. God, this is close. Y'all are Kingsley, Suma. Okay. All right. All right. We're going to go with Kingsley. I like this. All right. Round 3, pick 94. The 5 guys most likely to be picked by the San Francisco 49ers, according to ESPN Analytics: Mason McCormick, so another guard; Zach Zenter, which is interesting. Zach is another interior lineman, O-lineman, who played at Michigan, snapped his leg. He thinks he'll be back for training camp. Interesting. You got Andrew Phillips, the corner from Kentucky, who has visited the 49ers. Now we've got another tackle here from Yale, although we've already taken a tackle, so I would say less likely we want to put him on our board. And then we've got Kyrie Jackson. You guys tell me what you want to do. Got one vote for Phillips. So we've got guard, corner, tackle, corner. Jackson. Come on, give me Jackson. 2 for Phillips. Oh, okay. Amageji, I'm surprised. Okay. Andrew Phillips. Jackson. Phillips. Sucks. He allowed 68. Okay. All right. Jackson. Oh, McCormick. Okay. I think Jackson. We like Jackson here? I like Jackson. Oregon. Come on. No, I wouldn't. Okay. We're going to go Jackson, I think. All right, let's do it. So, based off of ESPN Analytics, guys most likely to be picked by the 49ers, pick 31, 63, and 94. We took the 5 guys most likely to be picked at each of those spots. I would be very ecstatic out of these guys that you've picked in the chat. So we would start the draft with Adonai Mitchell, Kingsley Sumataya. Would love that pick, especially at pick 63, and Kyrie Jackson. Dang. Adonai Mitchell, Sumataya, and Kyrie Jackson. I'd be pretty happy with that draft. I would be very happy with that draft. So there you go. Let's see if we can hit on any of those 3 come draft night. Or draft nights, I would say. Draft weekend, I guess. I'd be all for it. I would be all for it. Brother Bob says, FTO, I'm not his favorite. I get talking to from Nails. You do get a talking to from time to time. That's funny. Jordan Matthews says, BA is going to the Jags or Pitt. Book it. Too much smoke. I'll make a friendly wager with you, Jordan. Are you a 49er fan by chance, Jordan, or are you a fan of another team? You don't have to pay to answer the question. Jordan, if you're still around, give me who you are a fan of, out of curiosity. Do you think, Tom, do you think that we don't hit on any of the three, or are you simply saying you don't want any of the three, out of curiosity? I'd be curious. Jordan, I want to know if you're a 49er fan. I don't think he's going to be traded. I really don't. Frank Tom Ocean says, Brother Bob, don't give up my moniker. The Kruger thinks my name is Ocean. Shout out to the comment creators in the chat. That's interesting. Tom Ocean's like a singer, isn't he? I think I remember him back in the day. Brother Bob says, got you, Frank Tommy-O. P.S. I'm sleeping on something tonight. I don't know what that is. Emojis are too small and I'm too old. Yeah, I mean, on the surface. Okay, you're saying that we don't hit on it. Yeah, I probably tend to agree. On the surface, trading Ayuk would suck. I don't want Ayuk to go anywhere. But if I thought he was going to get traded, I would tell you, hey, I believe he's going to get traded. I don't think it's going to happen. It would suck depending on what they get back in return. If they got, and Washington, I don't think is in the market for him, but like pick, what is it, 36 and 40 or whatever Washington has, I would be all for it. If they got pick 20, I would be very open to it. 17, what have you. I would be open to it. I'd be open to it. If they got 2 second rounders, I would be open to it. There's a lot of things that I would be open to. It would ultimately suck losing BA. I mean, we're a fan of him as a player, but depending on what they draft and what picks they get in return, it might suck less. It might suck less. So we'll see. No, I don't think it's far-fetched. I don't think it's far-fetched, but if I were to handicap it like a percentages, 100% chance he's gone, 0% chance he's not going anywhere, I would put it at about 15%. I don't think the percentages are high. Now, 15% is not zero, right? That we do know. 15% is not zero. And 15% can be a high number. If I was told that I was potentially terminally ill, but I had a 15% chance of living, I would cling on to 15% and be like, sounds like a lot to me. I'm taking those chances. Right? So it all depends on how you're looking at it. But 15% chance is not likely. And I think it's not likely that he's traded. But we're going to find out. And I also don't think that when we are going through the draft process that just because round 1 comes and goes, that he still might not get traded. I think that he could get traded in round 2 for multiple picks. So I don't feel comfortable really until round 2 is pretty much done that he's not getting traded. That being said, I don't think he's going anywhere, and I'd put about a 15% chance on it. That's me personally. I like Kool-Aid. For me, though, Kool-Aid, I just think there's so many good corners that might be there in round 3 that the difference between Kool-Aid at that capital versus a guy that you can get in round 3, like a Kyrie Jackson potentially, or a Cam Hart, I don't think the difference is that big of a difference to where I would prefer Kool-Aid. He was one of the guys that I said stay away from at 31, and not because I don't like him as a player, but because I just think that the value is better later. That's me personally. Yeah, this is tough because every year there are players that get driven down draft boards for one reason or another, you have to take these things with a grain of salt, because what if there's a team that really wants Adonai Mitchell and they're at the tail end of round one? And so now they're out here telling everybody, putting it out there in the air that, oh, I mean, he doesn't take care of his diabetes and he can kind of be a pain, right? Like, these things you can understand that they could fall or push a player down a board. And so maybe you're putting out a narrative. Remember last year, this happened. CJ Stroud's a great example of this. CJ Stroud was that guy last year where teams clearly, or a team clearly, wanted him to fall past pick 2. And it was said that he did poor on the test score. I forget what the S2 cognition score. He did poorly on that. The reality was, and Marco ended up having that gentleman on his channel that runs it, he didn't do poorly at all. His overall score was low, but the things that they score you on based on the quarterback side of things, he scored just fine. But people use that to drive him down the board. And Will Levis, to the contrary, was driven up boards. People were like, oh, he might go number 2. You're seeing it with JJ McCarthy right now. The rumor is JJ McCarthy's going to go number 2. The betting odds are going up. Let me save everybody in this chat a little bit of money. JJ McCarthy is not going number 2. Don't bet on him going number 2, okay? He's not. It's between Daniels and it's between May. Those are the choices. Those have always been the choices. Those are the right choices. Somebody is trying to drive JJ up to benefit for some reason. And there's multiple ways they can benefit. If I'm the Chargers, for example, and I'm at pick 5, maybe I really want Marvin Harrison Jr. However, you've got a coach in Harbaugh that just coached JJ McCarthy, loves him. He's going to embellish a little bit on that. And maybe their executive anonymously hit the waves and was like, hey, just so you know, hearing he might go pick number 2, that's a possibility. Pick number 2, JJ McCarthy. And so when he doesn't go there, maybe you have a team that's like, hey, I got to get him at 4. I can't believe he didn't go at 2. I got to get him at 4. I got to move up. And so they move up to 4. They take JJ. Now all of a sudden, Marvin Harrison Jr. falls right to pick 5. Right? So you can see how this can easily benefit teams around the league to put out feelers and rumors on certain players. Sometimes they're true and sometimes they're not. Most of the time they are not true. And especially when you hear it this close to the draft, be skeptical. How come nobody was talking about Adonai Mitchell in this manner 60 days ago? Why is it just now we're starting to hear about this? I think that it's not a coincidence. I think somebody has an agenda to push, is what I think. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Brother Bob says Niners winning the Super Bowl this year without BA is a 0.09% one chance. Yeah, maybe. But them winning the Super Bowl with BA is probably less than 20% as well. Now, again, much better than less than 1%. But, I mean, you got to make the move that's right for your franchise, whatever that is, not just this year. John Lynch talked about that today as well. He talked about how sometimes there are players that you draft Not for them to be great this year, but to replace somebody in the future. Talked about it a lot, how the 49ers have 39 unrestricted free agents at the end of this year. And basically their whole secondary is an unrestricted free agent at this moment. You've got, assuming Talanoa Hufanga is going to start, unrestricted free agent. Diamador Lenore, starter, unrestricted free agent. Charvarius Ward, starter, unrestricted free agent. Now, whether you want to go with Rock Ya-Sin, you want to go with Ambry Thomas, you want to go with the kid from the Saints, Isaac Yiadom, that they just picked up. Whoever you want to name as your starter right now, all of those guys also free agents at the end of the year. So looking at it, taking a corner round 3, let's say they got Kyrie Jackson, there's a good chance that that corner doesn't start this year, but is a starter next year. He's a future starter, and they see him as such. So they take him knowing that they're going to need him next year. All those things are possible. Very possible. Dave Barclay says Harbaugh is driving him up. You talking about JJ? Yeah, I think it behooves him to drive JJ McCarthy up. Absolutely. Absolutely. Otani's interpreter says 80 has measurables, decent play stats, no yak, and sleepwalks through routes. High bust potential. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe there is some truth to the diabetes thing. From the standpoint that maybe he doesn't have his medications regulated properly or wasn't on the right diet. And maybe that's not his fault. Maybe they just needed to work through things a little bit better. And so it caused him to be lethargic at times. I could see that. But yeah, definitely. I mean, those things do show up on film. There is no denying that. The thing you have to ask yourself is why. And that's something that all of these teams are going to have to do their due diligence on to find the answers before they draft a player like Adonai Mitchell in round 1. But just player for player, I mean, you could see why the 49ers might like him. He's got a little bit of BA, a little bit of CeeDee Lamb to his game, but more explosive. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, all these things factor in. All these things factor in. Brother Bob says Niners winning the Super Bowl with Kyle Levy is a 0.0093 chance. Facts. Well, he's coaching regardless of whether BA's here or not. So no matter what. What about Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette? Yeah, maybe. I don't mind a receiver in round 2. I don't mind a receiver in round 2. But we'll see. We'll see who falls. And you know, it's always interesting too is I think that we do a ton of mock drafts and we read scouting reports and we see all the rankings. The reality is we feel like we have a good feeling on where these players are slotted to go. Oftentimes teams have it very different. And so you're going to see a player get picked in round 2, possibly by the 49ers, and you're going to be like, what? He's a round 4 guy. What the hell's going on here? Or a late round 3 guy. But that's based off of your research that is not necessarily in alignment with teams. So those are the things that you have to remember. Try not to get frustrated. Let us do that for you on draft night. Let Marco, David, Rohan, and myself, let us get frustrated for you on draft night when those things happen. But, you know, for me, every year you've seen it happen. You know exactly what that is. And every year it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Yeah, maybe. But the 49ers also like guys like Baker a ton. And I don't think he'll be there when they pick in 94. So is that where they trade up? I got to imagine. I mean, Tom, I think that they're going to trade up at some point. Maybe they trade back in round 1. Round 3, they trade up. Maybe round 3 is the spot where they trade up. That's a possibility. 49er Josh, seeker of truth and wisdom. I like it. I like the Purdy. Was that the... Oh, it's not just Purdy. Or is it Purdy? See Purdy on there? I swear I see Ayuk, but it looks like one of those graphic tees. Anyways, I always miss the live streams. Been super busy, but happy to see you live, good sir. I do watch the reruns on YouTube. Thank you. Keep up the good work, Jesse. Let's freaking go Niners and make this draft one peace and love. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's got to be a good draft. They're going to need it in the future for sure. Ryan tapping in. What's up, Ryan? He says, based on this title, I'm late and have to go all the way back and watch this whole thing. Definitely. There's a pretty cool tool that we use, Ryan, that I think you'll enjoy, that will help kind of figure things out. Hey, I'm with it. Trade up for Baker. Absolutely. Dr. Robert Anthony. Hey, I'm going to believe it. He's got a doctor in his name, so I'm going to trust him on this one. He says glucose, insulin dependent, means death without it quickly. Monitoring hormones that are not consistent. Yeah, but it's manageable, right? I mean, I would imagine, but everybody's different. And Dr. Anthony, I mean, you can say this and clear things up, but I imagine, yes, everybody's different, but Mark Andrews deals with it. Most people probably didn't know he was diabetic. He's been fine. I've also got to imagine that young athletes probably, if they are on solid diets, can manage something like this a lot easier than the average Joe that's in their 50s, something like that. So I think it's manageable if he has the right team around him and he does the right things. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Nobody can be around a player 24/7. Nobody can make those decisions for him. So if there are certain foods that are triggers for him that he won't put down when he's alone, then there's nothing you can do. You can educate him all you want, but it's not going to matter. So it really is up to the player to take that information and do the right thing with it, especially when they're alone. So I don't know. We'll see. Brother Bob says, Ryan, OG, Nails officially admitted he's Sheets Jr. I definitely did. Sheets Jr. here. All right. Listen. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, even though we had to make 2 attempts at it. Dr. Anthony says, yes, exercise definitely changes levels. Yeah, for sure. So appreciate it. Thank you for the answer. I will be back tomorrow with Neil. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do a mock draft, but it'll be caller edition, open mic edition. So look out for me to put out the invite on my community tab. If that is something you are interested in, look for that invite probably tomorrow. I want to bring on 3 people to do a mock, 3 different mocks. We'll probably only do 5 rounds. We don't necessarily have to go through 7 rounds, but maybe a 5-round mock for 3 different people. And then Thursday, I'll be live with Marco, David, Rohan, and we're going to be here for the whole first round of the draft. So keep it locked in here at Last Second Sports. Appreciate each and every one of you. Much love. Stay blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Peace.